Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. So glad you guys could join us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and on X. We're going to go ahead and connect with our friends over on Instagram. And lastly, we'll be bringing in our friends over on Amazon. I'm so excited about today's segment. It's a first time for him on the Amazon platform. I've had an opportunity to interview author John DeDakis before on our radio platform, Conversations Live. I'm going to go ahead and connect with our friends over on Amazon so we can get into our conversation about his latest book. I think you guys are going to really enjoy this one that we have for you guys today. And we're now live on Amazon Live with Cyrus Webb Presents. Glad you all could join us on the Amazon.com platform. If you guys are new to us on Amazon, make sure you guys do hit that follow button. You see it either here in this corner or down below. You also will see the latest book by our next guest. So excited to welcome John DeDakis to our broadcast today. John is someone I had a chance to talk to a few times about his previous work featuring Lark, the main character of this book as well. We're going to talk to John not only about his writing journey, but what it's been like for him to talk about some issues that are very present in the world today, and to be able to do so in a fictionalized setting with his books. If you guys are not staying connected with John, we'll let you guys know how to do that. John, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Hi, Cyrus. Thanks very much. This is always a treat to talk to you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and it is always a great thing for me as well, John. I was just sharing with John. I met a friend of mine, a librarian, while I was on an appointment with my mom today, and I was telling her I was going to be speaking with you today. And John, what I love about your books is that ever since the first time you were on with me on the radio side, your books are so relatable. They're about things that, of course, people are talking about. What has that been like for you in your career to be able to see the way that people have been following you from book to book?
It's been surprising because it took me 10 years to get the first novel published because it took me that long to get an agent. It went through 14 major revisions. The agent that I've got and I've had since 2005, she's the 39th agent that I queried. So
Oh, wow.
to to uh, uh, to have people discover Lark Chadwick, my protagonist, and follow her along on her growth odyssey has been really fulfilling and I have to say surprising because
Yeah.
you just want to write a book and you hope someone will like it, but it always amazes me when it actually happens.
Right. And it definitely has happened. And what is so great about it, and you and I were just talking about this, John, before we went live, is that there are some of us who've been following you from book to book, but you're picking up new readers as you release each book as well. What has it been like for you to see the way that people are responding to Lark Chadwick as they meet her in the book that they found out about you with?
Well, the interesting thing about, and I purposely write them this way, that you don't, it's a series, but you don't have to read them in order. I write them so that you'll have a sense that something happened. But if you want to know how it happened and what actually happened, you need to go back. But I hear from my readers that it really doesn't spoil the experience for them, that,
Yeah.
you can pick it up at anywhere along the way in the series and feel like you're getting to know Lark and that it stands alone.
Mm. Even the title of this new book, "Enemies Domestic," it feels timely considering some of the things we're seeing in the world, and quite honestly, John, in our country right now. I mean, you could not. I know you've had these conversations already with people, but you could not. One have picked a better title, but also you could not have picked, I think, more hot button issues than what we're doing today. What has that been like for you to see how those two things have dovetailed together now?
Well, I mean, one of my early beta readers said, "Well, this is just too far fetched," and now it's happening.
Yeah.
The title "Enemies Domestic" is taken from the oath of office, where government office holders pledge to protect the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And in Enemies Domestic, a dictator becomes president. My protagonist, Lark Chadwick, is White House press secretary. It's her first day on the job. The first question she's asked comes from a Tucker Carlson type. Lark is pregnant, ambivalent about becoming a single mom. Abortion is a crime. And the character asks, "Are you or are you not planning to abort your unborn child?" That's how it starts. And the ironic thing is that it was published July 4th, the same week that the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that presidents have absolute immunity from prosecution for crimes they commit as part of their official duties. And they still haven't defined what official duties means. So anything is possible. And we are now seeing a president who is beginning to defy court orders. So who's going to enforce that? We don't know.
Yeah. And that is what is so fascinating to me, John, as a reader and having kind of taken part of this journey along with Lark and seeing the way Lark has, for one, has this idea of wanting to do what's right and to right wrongs, and then to kind of find themselves in a situation now where they're looked at as the one who could be making the quote unquote wrong decision. I mean, how did you decide what predicament you wanted to kind of put Lark in when it came to Enemies Domestic?
Well, my wife Cindy and I have coffee every morning at 8, and we read Heather Cox Richardson, who's a university historian, and she writes about current events, but she relates them to history. And so Cindy and I were having coffee when the Alito decision leaked, overturning Roe v. Wade. Well, as it turns out, Lark, at the end of Fake, the book that leads up to this, where she's the victim of fake news, she's pregnant at the end of that book. And so it made perfect sense to create a story in which Lark is living in a post-Roe era. And so the creative process was Cindy and I talked about it. I would go down, write some pages, very enthusiastic. I'd take them up to Cindy and she'd go, well, how about this? And maybe that. So it was really a collaborative effort all the way through. And so it really came as a mutual decision between Cindy and me.
Love that. We're getting some viewers in from YouTube. Hello to you guys. Also on Instagram, GodDaddy T, hello to you. Glad you could join us overseas here on Instagram as well. So I want to say, for our audience that's just finding out about Lark Chadwick, talk to us about Lark overall. When it came to book 1, how did Lark come to you initially?
Well, look, when I first started writing fiction in a series, someone suggested that I should write in a way that stretches who I am. Never been a woman, at least not in this life. So I gave it a try, and I discovered that emotions are not gender specific. We all have the exact same emotions. It's just that in my experience, the women in my life are more willing to share their emotions. They're more articulate about them. And so I find that writing Lark it makes her a more interesting character. And yet she is drawn from a lot of my psyche as well. I grew up with, I don't know, anger issues, impulse issues. And so those are some of Lark's shortcomings that challenge her as she goes through life. And so that's made Lark an interesting character, because sometimes she can be her own worst enemy.
Yeah. I think we all can relate to a bit of that, John, for sure. I mentioned to you before we went live that when I was reading Enemies Domestic, one of the things that really stood out to me is, yes, of course, the predicament that Lark finds herself in. One, something she's not, it seems like in the past books, has not been as comfortable with, kind of being the center of the storm, so to speak, right?
Go ahead. Please finish your question. I thought.
Yeah, but I was just going to say, for this book, I thought it was interesting to have that component, but then to have other things that had real world implications, like the topic of mental health that comes up in this book as well. Did you know? Because you could have just settled on the whole issue of, after Roe and let that be it. How did you decide what other components you wanted to kind of make hot button issues in this book?
Well, by the time you get to book 6, which is Enemies Domestic, you have accumulated a lot of traumatic situations, emotionally traumatic events that have taken place in Lark's life. One of her, there have been deaths along the way. Yeah. And so she, by necessity, has had to work with a grief counselor following the death of her boyfriend in a previous book. And of course, I draw from my own grief experiences as well. And so for several books now, Lark has been in a counseling relationship, which is a great way in real life as well as in a fictional life to think things through, to get personal clarity. And so I've found that mental illness and mental health are critical, especially at this time, to be able to manage sort of that balance, make that head-heart balance, because it's easy to live life, emotionally, but that's an emotional roller coaster. And, there needs to be a a rational component as well. And that's been Lark's struggle between her emotions telling her to do one thing and her head that's telling her to, be a little more focused.
Yeah. Has that been part of the I don't want to call it the easy part, John, but I'm thinking about a certain scene in his domestic where Lark is well, there are a few that come to mind where Lark is very vulnerable, right? Is that part of the easy part of writing her character? Because those, as you mentioned, that emotions, those types of things are not gender specific, that kind of it makes it easier to kind of slip into her skin and to see the world as she's doing it at that time.
I don't know if it's easier. I mean, I'll give you an example. Bullet in the Chamber, which is the fourth novel, which is loosely based on the heroin overdose death of my youngest son. I used that story as a subplot, and I basically cried the whole time I wrote the book. So in a sense, for me, writing is a catharsis. It's a way to, work through some of those issues through Lark's character. So is it easy? Well, no, because I think facing pain is difficult. But on the other hand, it's very freeing. And I think in the long run, it brings clarity and a sense of wholeness about life, because, life isn't all just, sunshine and roses.
Right.
We need to be able to navigate real life. And that's what I do with Lark.
Right. The idea of power and who holds power comes up in this book as well. And of course, we obviously would think about the president, but there are other players that you bring up in this book too, John, that show how power can shift and who really wields the real authority. Talk to us about that for you. What was it like for you to play with the idea of power and what brings power on?
That's a theme that actually runs through all of the novels, and the theme is basically love versus control. And we see that in a lot of relationships. And of course, Lark is a very attractive young woman. Guys are hitting on her all the time, and and of course, a real player will go, "I love you," when he really means "do it my way." And that's been a struggle for a lot of my women friends. One of the things I learned writing as a woman, when I was talking with women about what it's like to be a female, there was one woman I asked, what's it like for guys to come on to you all the time? And she said, I can tell in the first 20 seconds if I'm safe. I never have to worry about being safe. And so that's when I realized being a woman means playing defense. And so that's often what Lark is having to do, but she's becoming more savvy about it and is getting a little more aggressive in pushing back.
Love that. I want to reset real quick, John, for those who are just coming in. See you guys coming in over there on the Amazon side. Welcome to you guys. For those who are just tuning in, welcome. You're watching Cyrus Webb Presents on the Amazon platform, where we're simulcasting on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and on Instagram. John DeDakis is our guest today. I've had a chance to speak with John before on our radio program, Conversations Live. It's his first time with us on Amazon Live for Cyrus Webb Presents, discussing his newest book featuring his character, Lark Chadwick. It's called Enemies Domestic. I want to say hello to Dakia Anderson. Hello to you. Dakia, congratulations to you on another great year. John, I got a chance to interview Dakia. She's an actress in the Beauty in Black series that's on television. Hope, hello to you. Good to see you. Evan, hello to you as well. We're going to let you guys know how to stay connected with John as well at the end of our broadcast. I want to talk to you about another thing, John, that you and I have not discussed before. And it came up as I was prepping for your segment today. And that is what you're doing to inspire the writers coming after you. Because that seems to be another passionate thing. Just as you're passionate about your own love of writing, what has it been like for you to be able to pour into those who also want to come into the career of writing?
Oh man, you hit the sweet spot here, Cyrus. When I first got published, the thing that surprised me is that there were so many doors that opened to me that I didn't even know existed. I would go to a writer's conference and someone would say, here's my 150,000 word tome. Give it a quick read and tell me what you think. Well, there is no such thing as a quick read, and it needs work isn't really going to be very, very helpful. So I basically monetized it and became a manuscript editor, a writing coach, and I teach writing at different writers' conferences around the country and at various literary centers, mostly online through the Muse in Norfolk, the Writers Center in Bethesda, the Loft in Minneapolis. And so teaching has been a real surprise, and it itches this, it scratches this itch that I have to be an encouragement to others, because I made a lot of mistakes writing my first novel, and I've been able to deconstruct what went wrong and help. I mean, I tell my students, if you take good notes, I'll save you 9 years in the process.
Wow. Wow. And I wanted to bring that up because I know that is something that you are passionate about, John, and I think it's so great. Do you find yourself, even at this stage in your career, being asked about the starting period? I meet people sometimes who have this idea of what they want to do, but the starting part seems to be what frustrates them the most. What advice do you normally give when it comes to just doing that, starting?
Well, I mean, one of the things is that a lot of people have ideas, and maybe they get out of the shower with an idea that has, just come into their lap whole, and they get this burst of enthusiasm. They write white hot for about 50 pages, and then they hit the wall because they hadn't thought things through because of their enthusiasm, and they quit. And yet, my encouragement is, if you've got this idea that keeps nagging at you, learn about the craft, and just write, because writing is a way to, clear out the underbrush and, learn how to go about doing it. Because if you've got the desire, there's a way to make it work and to make it coherent.
Love that. John, are you already thinking about what's next?
Yes, but you'll be interested to know that the next thing is a memoir. The working
Oh,
title, I
wow.
know, the working title is Plot Twists, a memoir on writing and living. I basically I've identified the pivotal moments in my life that have brought me to where I am. And of course, it's going to deal with grief and loss. It's going to deal with writing and some of the things I've learned on the way. And it's going to talk about finding integrity, because, just as fictional characters change, I've changed. And so there's been, a maturity and a strengthening of I hope a strengthening of my character over the last, well, I won't say how many years, but a long time.
I'm going to ask you an unusual question for me, John. I don't typically ask a question like this, but because of your background, and for those who don't know, John also has a background in news. With everything happening in the world today, do you miss that world?
Well, what Cyrus is referring to is that I was one of Wolf Blitzer's editors at CNN for 7 years, was at CNN for 25 years, covered the White House for the last 3 years of Reagan. So my 45-year career was in journalism. I left CNN 12 years ago, and I do not miss it.
You know,
It's a mess. It's a mess. And I mean, just to put a fine point on it, my encouragement, if you really want to know what to trust, read the Associated Press, Reuters, the New York Times, read it. Don't listen to the pundits yell at each other. Read it, find out the facts for yourself at a reputable news organization.
I appreciate that. John, you don't know this. I don't think you know this. But here in Mississippi, where I'm on the radio, where I told you we're celebrating 22 years, for the past 10 years, I've been the news director for one of the stations here, Max WYED 94.1 FM, and that is where we get our primary news as the Associated Press for my news program. I do Monday through Friday.
Well done, Cyrus Webb.
John DeDakis, everyone, has been our guest. John, this has been so much fun. His newest book is called Enemies Domestic. You guys can get it here on Amazon. For those joining us, you all will see it either here on the side or down below. Appreciate the hearts over there on Amazon as well. You guys can click on the book and get it in print, or of course the Kindle edition there for only $6.99. For those tuning in on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, you'll find the link there to bring you guys over to Amazon. For those tuning in on X, we do have John tagged there, but you'll find the link for Amazon in the comment section. Those joining us on Instagram, it's in my stories. John, it's always a pleasure speaking with you. How can our audience stay connected with you?
Best way is through my website, which is johndedakis.com. It's a tricky Greek name, John, D as in dog E, D as in dog A, KIS.com.
All right. And we'll make sure we'll link that up as well. John, really appreciate you and looking forward to having you back to discuss the next book.
Thanks, Cyrus. It's always good to talk to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And we thank you, our audience, for tuning in to another great segment of Cyrus Webb Presents. Until next time, you all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.